Welcome into the Fill in the Blanks podcast. I am Jarvis Davis. I got my co-host with me, Tenitra Batiste.
We're back.
Tani- Tenitra, what's going on? Like, I feel like we haven't talked to each other in like 7 weeks. Like,
Right.
that's what it feels like to me. Like, I don't know
Right.
what's going on.
That's about right between our hiatus from
Mhm.
FIDB last week and then our hiatus from air on 92.9 from the show on Saturdays for the last few weeks because of March Madness. It has been a minute. So welcome back, not just to our Fill in the Blanks family, but also our 92.9 The Game family that typically comes out and supports us on a Tuesday afternoon. But yeah, good to see you guys.
Yeah, it is good to be back. We are streaming live on multiple platforms today. We upgrading
Upgrade
around
you.
this thing. So don't be surprised you see it pop up on my Twitter account, on our YouTube page at Fill in the Blanks 23. Check us out there. Make sure you just subscribe as well, so you can be
Yes.
notified when all this stuff goes down. And you won't have to constantly listen to me remind you all of the time. You just know, like, hey Jarvis, shut up. I know this. I know what I know what time you guys are coming on.
Right.
And
We
I'll be like,
see you,
okay,
Jarvis.
yeah.
We see you.
And I'll be like, okay, no problem at all. So, well, yeah, we got a lot of things on board today.
Yes.
You went down to Birmingham and stuff with the HBCU Combine. We're gonna talk about that.
Yes.
We got a quick little rapid fire towards the end of the show, and also we're gonna pay a little homage to DMX, passed away at the age of 50. But first, we got to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. There have been
Yes.
a lot of conversations, a lot of things going
Conjecture.
down, conjecture and prognostications and all of those words.
Theorizing.
Yeah, arising as we approach the draft, which is fastly approaching.
I know, Jarvis,
April
2 weeks, man.
2 weeks from now, two weeks from
Crazy.
Thursday, I believe.
There's
Yeah. So if we so I think we are at a really good place to kind of really talk about where they should go. And one of the things that I saw that Jeff Schultz wrote an article in the Athletic talking about why the Falcons should draft a quarterback.
mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people have really fallen in love with this whole Kyle Pitts thing, especially when he
Yes.
started talking
Yeah.
about whether how they're very interested, and he had multiple meetings with them, and
hmm
and I get all that. But my whole thing though, T,
Yeah.
if you're gonna fire Thomas Dimitroff and Dan Quinn, stop it with the band-aids. Stop
Yeah.
stop it with the hey, we're just gonna try to figure it out and compete for a Super Bowl this year. No,
Right.
that's not how this thing works. Like, if
hmm
you're gonna bring in a new regime, let
Yes.
this new GM come in and put his stamp on this organization
Let him
and
do
say,
it.
hey, I
That's
want to
right.
draft my guy. So I'm with Jeff
Yep.
Schultz on this thing. Draft a
Me
quarterback.
too.
If this is a
Me
guy
too.
that you really like, go ahead
Me
and
too.
draft your guy.
Yeah, and Jarvis, so many nuggets that you just put out there. So I'm going to try to hit on them all. But first and foremost, I agree. I don't know where the Kyle Pitts fascination is coming from. I get that he is a game changer, no question. But let me just put something out there that to me is interesting. And if I'm skipping over a guy, I know Jarvis or our FIDB family will bring me back into reality.
Indeed.
But yes, there have been some tight end game changers, if you will. One that even the Falcons fan base has seen in really still Tony Gonzalez's good years, but nonetheless towards the end of his career. Definite game changer. I take nothing away from the fact that a tight end can be that. But I also will purport to you that the Super Bowl rings that John Elway was able to snag came in large part to the work with Shannon Sharp. And again,
Mm-hmm.
we saw Shannon Sharp go to the Ravens and put in work as well. Shannon
Mm-hmm.
Sharp was not drafted in the first round and most certainly not in the top 5. So
Right.
you can get yourself quite the tight end and not, for lack of a better term, waste that pick on number 4. Also, you and I are still very high on Hayden Hurst to see what he can do under the right offensive coordinator within the right scheme. He was starting to show a lot of little glimpses of what he could do last season. And I believe it was Jake Locker
Mm-hmm.
that they brought back, right? So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like there's not a stable of tight ends that could do it.
Mm-hmm.
A number 4 pick, Jarvis, was it 2008? The last time that the Falcons sniffed something, a pick that high? You
Yeah.
gotta make bold moves. Like you said, do not put a Band-Aid on this thing. Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith, you want them to make big, bold moves. The only other direction I could even remotely be comfortable for them going in is that of edge rusher.
Yeah.
Really, that whether it's a Phillips or an Ojulari. I love something that the SAC professor Chuck Smith said a couple of weeks ago when he joined one of our shows on 92.9 The Game. He talked about that transcendent player that Ojulari can be. To me, unless you're going on the defensive side to get that game changer and that transcendent player, you have to go quarterback. And the other piece there is this, Jarvis. If you don't go out and get that quarterback in 2021, do you really see that transcendent person in 2022? And God forbid, this could happen. You know what happened in 2020, Jarvis. You and I covered it.
Yeah.
You know what happened. The Falcons had an opportunity to be at, say, 8, ended up winning that last game and went to number 13. And yeah, they got a great guy in A.J. Terrell, but I'm just saying there's a difference between being in, say, the top 10 versus, say, the mid-teens. And if you happen to have some type of 7-9, 8-8, or 9-7 season this year, and then you end up with a mid-teens pick next year, what kind of quarterback are you going to get there? Just saying.
And my whole thing is like, are we going to just sit back in here and ignore what the problem or the issues have been for the Falcons for this entire Dan Quinn regime? What was the issue? What were the issues? Being able to get to the quarterback and protect the quarterback, especially these last 3 years. Matt Ryan has been
just been on his back all day, every day.
Like, so my whole thing is like, if you're not going to go quarterback, which I'm wholeheartedly behind, 100%, I'm all in on getting your guy. But if your guy's not there, trade down, and that we get to that part of the conversation.
Yes.
But if you're going to take a guy at 4, why not protect the guy that you apparently want to stay with? If you're not going to draft a quarterback, why not protect Matt Ryan? Why not get a Panay Sewell, a guy who can be a guard for now, and then eventually already have your replacement in place for Jake Matthews whenever
I want that.
On. So you know what I'm saying? So, or you can go get a guy that can get to the quarterback. That's been an issue as well. So the Falcons have consistently had these issues up front. And you're talking about drafting a tight end. So that's why I'm staunchly against it. I was like, if they draft Kyle Pitts, that'd be a horrible mistake. It'd be
especially
a horrible
at 4.
mistake.
Yeah,
especially at 4. So it's right now the Falcons need to breathe. And the Falcons fans need to breathe and say, okay, that's a sexy pick. And I made a point a couple of weeks ago about it's time to get ugly. Let's get a boring pick. I don't mind a boring pick. Panay Sewell is a boring pick. That's not going to knock anybody's socks off. But
guess what? Chris Lindstrom was a boring pick too.
Right. Exactly.
And how's that worked out? I think that's worked out pretty solid.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's worked out.
That's worked out pretty solid. And you said something, Jarvis, that I love as well. And thank you for that, because just to clarify that point, not to say you necessarily have to get an Azeez Ojulari at the 4. Just to agree with Jarvis and just to kind of clarify what I was talking about. Yeah, I would think that you could get him with that pick sort of down into maybe the I would say the high teens, like maybe a 10, 12, 13, and then get yourself some equity with some more picks for whoever you trade down to. So no, just want to clarify, I'm totally in agreement with you. That is a wonderful plan should the Falcons decide to go away from quarterback. But yeah, one more thing you said, Jarvis, and I love that. We're talking about another piece of the puzzle, which is kind of the elephant in the room, but not so much. Those PSLs were a beast for the Falcons. Those PSLs were an absolute albatross for them.
You could tell by how many people did not show up or weren't there on Sundays at 12:59.
Yeah, we can attest.
People were like, is it a game going on?
Yeah, we can attest.
Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. And so you really, between the pandemic and a losing season, you really do have to think as well. And come on, Arthur Blank is a businessman, so he can't help but think about the business aspect of it and who indeed will put butts in seats, for lack of a better term. And that is admittedly not that that's your only reason, but don't for 1 second think that that's not going to be at least a criterion that's going to be under consideration for who they go for, if they go at number 4, or even if they go into that kind of high teen space and get some draft picks as well. Lots for them to think about. It's going to be an interesting Thursday. Jarvis and I will be all over the coverage. So you guys just watch
Yeah.
us even leading up to it, because Jarvis and I, we know that a lot of people were shocked with what the 49ers and Eagles did a couple weeks ago because it was so early on in the process. But I
Right.
would not be shocked to start seeing some of those moves even 24, 36, 48 hours ahead of the draft.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And another little thing, and another thing.
Another thing.
That whole,
Go. Come
it's
on.
interesting that you bring up that 49ers piece, right? Because I think people have to really just think about the all of these little things coming out right now, like the Trey Lance and Justin Fields are doing another
Mm-hmm.
pro day, and Kyle Shanahan still doesn't really know who he's gonna draft, and you had
Allegedly.
right, and then you had the Sims boy, that's why I call him the Sims boy coming out talking about, oh yeah, it's Mac Jones, guaranteed. And now everybody, yeah, it's Mac
Right.
Jones
Oh.
because that's Kyle Shanahan's best friend. Oh yeah,
Right.
I'm sure Kyle would want him to put that out there if that was the case. Like so,
Right.
like think
Yeah,
about
watch the
these
smoke and
things.
mirrors.
Right, exactly. Stop paying to the smoke and mirrors because if you really believe that Kyle Shanahan gave up all that draft capital to move up for Mac Jones, a 1-year starter at
Yeah.
Alabama,
Mm-hmm.
a guy who couldn't beat out Tua Tagovailoa, who is, I guess, right now we can say is average in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like he was throwing to Jalen Waddell, who was a Heisman candidate
Mm-hmm.
coming into the season,
And Devontae
and
Smith,
Devontae
who
Smith,
ended
who
up winning, right?
winning the Heisman. Like, so my whole thing is like, if we're gonna use if we're gonna use our eyeballs
Mm-hmm.
to kind of like really look at these guys and evaluate these guys, for certain guys. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out why we aren't using these for Mac Jones because
Yeah.
Alabama winning last time an Alabama quarterback has been good in the NFL. I'll wait.
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so I think we
That's a
need to hold.
great point.
Yeah, so there's a possibility Justin Fields, I believe, will
Mm-hmm.
not be available for the Falcons at 4 because it. If I'm Kyle Shanahan, like I'm, I, if he, why if he draft Mac Jones at 3 and giving up all of that for Mac Jones, he should be fired. Like that's how I feel. Like that's where I am with that. Cause that's how
That's how you
dumb
really
that would
feel.
be. Like seriously, like that's how I
Yeah.
really feel about it. I was like, because what are we really looking at? Like
Yeah.
if we're looking at Justin Fields against Clemson and saying
Mm-hmm.
that third he's the fourth best quarterback in this draft, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just don't understand where we are with that. So I think that that's one of the things we have to think about when they're considering the Falcons as well. Like when you're talking about, you
Mm-hmm.
even heard all of the talk about Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot being split
Mm-hmm.
on whether or not to get a quarterback or not to draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
Really? They
It's
just started
interesting.
working with each other. So
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they're in love with Trey Lance. Like think about it, people. T,
Right.
follow me, T. I know you with me.
I'm
I know you
following
with
you.
me.
You're making sense to me.
like like
Now the other stuff is more make sense to me, but
right,
you're
exactly. But
making
if
sense
if
to me.
if they're so in love with Trey Lance and X team that really likes Trey Lance is sitting at
Mm-hmm.
7, wouldn't they
Mm-hmm.
want to make a phone call to the Falcons? And
Yes.
and what have we also heard, which I think is really true, that they're willing to trade down. So
Mm-hmm.
like put the puzzle oh goodness gracious, the puzzle pieces together
Right.
and really
Right. No,
think
I
about
hear
this
you.
thing. Like so I think we need to just really just weed through all of this stuff that's coming out right now because like you said, we're 14, I mean, look, 16 days away from the draft. So I don't believe anything that's coming out right now to you.
Yeah, I think you put the nail on the head. It's almost like which it's almost like we're just kind of having fun with it too. Just
Right.
kind of the
Yeah.
rumors and the innuendo and
Yeah.
the smoke and mirrors, because it's like you and I have both seen, and we'll say this and move on, but you and I have both
hmm
seen on draft night, we've been in that media room where we're all sitting with bated breath and watching the draft and pick after pick after pick. And then it's like, and the Falcons are on the clock. And everybody is postulating about where they think the Falcons are going to go. And then it becomes, no, that's not what we had in mind at all. I mean, literally, Cal Ridley, literally, Chris Lindstrom. Like, I mean, nobody
Keanu
had
Neal,
that.
like all of this, they just go on and on and on.
Yeah, or going with two O linemen in the first round. We didn't see that coming. So you just never know what is going to happen. And again, it is at this point all conjecture.
Indeed. And speaking of that stuff that wasn't conjecture, you were down in Birmingham at the HBCU Combine.
Yes.
And there was some couple of guys that you interviewed that looked like they might be ready to roll, especially a couple of those Jaguars. Shout out to Keisha there, representing
No
Southern
question.
University. So I know y'all got a chance to kick it down there. How was it? Like, I love this type of stuff, and going down there and seeing those guys trying to chase that dream. So,
Right.
and HBCUs are near and dear to both of our hearts. So, how was it being down there?
Oh, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Initially I thought that it was going to be similar to your experience for Senior Bowl, but I realized it was actually more like a regional combine, which regional combines for the NFL are very, very closed to media. So we really didn't have nearly the access that, we hoped, or even the ability for them to kind of simulcast some of the drills, if you will.
Right.
But 43 guys came from all across the HBCU landscape, and it was just really very good to see them get an opportunity to see everything just be so well organized. You had NFL coaches and scouts there. You also had former scouts running the combine. So it was very well run, like a regional combine. I do believe somebody like a Hunter Register from Southern University had one of the fastest times that day. Like you said, got a chance to speak with him at length. He has a shot. He definitely has a legitimate shot to land somewhere in the NFL. And many of those guys, I just feel really good that they got the opportunity because, of course, the HBCU Combine was supposed to take place last year and COVID kind of wiped that out. And also, for me, just being there and kind of speaking to some of the individuals who actually had the idea to brainstorm this, which next year it'll actually likely be a televised event and it's going to be wrapped up into some other events. So it's definitely going to grow. That's the direction that HBCU sports is going in right now. And that to me was the most encouraging thing. The fact that it was hosted at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, which, UAB had its own struggles with losing its team only to get it back and then trying to put a good product on the field. So for them, this was an important venture. It was very serious for them to have this go off professionally and effectively. And also, I think it speaks to the legacy. If you want another Chris Rowland, whom, the Falcons had basically on practice squad, and he just kept working and working and working and working. And we know where that landed him. If you want to see that person, or you want to see a Tariq Cohen, some of those guys who are like diamonds in the rough, then you have to give more of these opportunities like this HBCU Combine. And you have to keep having things happen like what we saw today with Eddie George taking over as head coach of the Tennessee State football team. And that's on top of what Robert Covington was able to do when he basically funded a basketball facility back in November for Tennessee State.
Yes,
that's game changer. Game changer.
And when it comes down to HBCU football, and people kind of like ask me, like how can these guys, get these opportunities? And my answer is always will be, and will continue to be, they need eyeballs. They need eyeballs on them because there is talent there. Like just like you can go to
no question.
Carson Newman and go and get a guy that can go and find a guy that can be a special teams guy for you and be in the league for 4 to 5 years playing special teams and be able to set himself up, from a retirement standpoint and have a little change in his pocket. Yeah, you can do the same thing at Albany State, at Southern,
you sure
at
can.
Grambling. There is talent everywhere when it comes, because for whatever reason, guys fall through the cracks all of the time. So not all of the talent goes to those big schools because
Not at all. And you think about a Michael Johnson who is at Savannah State or was at Savannah State, and you think about a Jeremiah Abbey from Southern University, and you never ever know what might happen. They could become your next Jamie Dukes type. Jamie Dukes, of course, did go to Florida State, granted. But what I will say about him, when you think about him or other players who were undrafted or who were drafted lower, he lasted over a decade in the league with quality teams as a starter. So you also never know where you might find that diamond in the rough who could be that person who just keeps working and working and working and then becomes that guy. And also, one of the good things that I heard, at least from the press conference clippings today, that I wanted to ask your take on is that the expectation is former Titans coach, of course, coach for Eddie George, Jeff Fisher, would be playing an instrumental role with Eddie George in coaching the Tigers. So maybe think about you just in terms of you having had a former pro player be one of your coaches, and how important was that for you as you continue to develop your skills on the collegiate level and then on to the pro level?
Yeah, you know what? That it's vital because like I always talk about and joke about, like, I have my bachelor's degree in football knowledge, you know, and when you talking about getting, you know, and getting up to that level of that professional level of making it in the league and then getting that teaching from a guy who teaches on that professional level, you talk about master's level. And the coach Mike White, he played for the Seahawks, and one thing that always stuck with me was, it's like he's always, you tell me, he's like, being big is not an excuse not to not run. You know, because he's always mess with me about when we used to run, do conditioning after practice, and he was just like, "Come on, Jarvis, let's go." Like that, being big ain't no excuse. And I was one of the bigger guys on the team, but I took that to heart, and that said, hey, you know what? He's sitting up here at 6'4", 295, at 22 years old, running down on kickoff in the NFL. Like, yeah, if you tell me there's no excuse for not being able to run, I'm gonna believe you, because guess what? You've done it on the highest level, and that goes a long way, T. When you're talking about dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds, because we're so young, we're so impressionable, and like the young kids say, having that clout, like you have that clout, like, yeah, you got that brand. Yeah, I play in the NFL. So when you have guys like that, coaching you each and every day, that's the more that you get coached by those guys, the less that you have to be taught when you get that invite to camp, or when you become that undrafted free agent. That's less they have to worry about, because and also, T, from a networking standpoint, you know what? If Jeff Fisher makes a phone call, you know what? I got this linebacker down here, guys. He's not the fastest, but this mofo is gonna do everything you tell him to do. And I'll almost guarantee you that he'll make your 53-man roster as a special teams guy. You think somebody's not gonna listen to him? It's like, you know what, Jeff? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Eddie George. Oh yeah, I got this running back. I got this running back that, man, let me tell you, he reminds me of myself. And you think people that goes a long way. That credibility is real, like credibility and eyeballs. That's what it's gonna take for HBCUs to continue to grow.
And Jeremiah Abbey mentioned something to me that I thought was so cool. In his off time, he decided to come back to Atlanta to teach and coach a little bit at his alma mater, Carver High School. And so that's that other piece, when someone like Eddie George or someone like Jeff Fisher calls and says, hey, you know, my guy may not make it to the NFL, but this is one of my smartest players. He understands the game, he understands scheme, and he's interested in coaching. You know, can you make a slot for him, or you have an assistant gig that maybe he can come and be on your staff. If a coach gets that call, if a team gets that call, then they're more inclined as well to bring that guy on, and hopefully given the opportunity to climb the ranks. We know what those numbers look like on the NFL level and even on the collegiate level, D1 football, as far as Black coaches go. So if you are at that HBCU under somebody like an Eddie George, Jeff Fisher, Deion Sanders, and maybe you don't make it to the league, but they see something special in you to be a coach, and they make that call, maybe that's the opening that you get that you otherwise wouldn't have, to start to build your resume to become a coach at the collegiate or even at the pro level. So that's that other
Yeah,
piece.
because it is really all about that network, that little circle, because it's
Yeah.
so hard to get into the NFL as a player, right? So when are
Mm-hmm.
you connected with somebody who actually has that, and they see that that talent that you have from a coaching standpoint, being able to teach the position, not necessarily play it at a high level, but hey, I can teach you to play at a high level. Those
Mm-hmm.
things matter, and when you're talking about making those recommendations, and if you can be around those people at those HBCUs versus being an assistant at Alabama under Nick Saban.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Those don't come by too often. So I think that with everything that's going on with the HBCUs, and even Deion Sanders striking a deal with Pepsi for the swag, and
Yeah.
and because
Good
he
look.
had a relationship with them as a player, so he's able to
Yes.
bring that in. So I'm just like, people, connect the dots. Like, it's all about who you know and who you're around, and
Who
to
you are
get
around.
and have that credibility, and being able to be successful. So I think that I'm too excited about what's going on with HBCUs right now. They are the hot thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I want them to continue to be the hot thing. But
Yes.
before we get out of here, T, I think that we would be remiss if we did not talk about our brother Earl Simmons,
Yeah.
DMX, the rapper, dead at the age of 50. He was on life support for a few days, and then he finally left us to go on to a better place
Yes.
now. And I will say this about DMX. I know you're a huge fan, but just for me, I think that he's a guy that kind of let my guard down as far
Mm-hmm.
as up north rappers, because growing up,
Mm.
I despised up north rappers. I did not listen to them. I just had I, I had no interest whatsoever in expanding my musical reach. Like
Yes.
if it stayed in Atlanta for my entire life, I would have been fine. But I think DMX was a guy that kind of opened my eyes to that.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but this past weekend, I was like listening to party up, and I'm slipping, I'm falling, I can't get up. It just,
Mm-hmm.
all of those songs was just kind of just bringing me back to the times
Yes.
when those songs
Yes.
came out, and I'm just like, wow, this man had a lot of music. He touched a lot of people, and and one thing that I really like about X was that he was just such an open book, man.
Open book.
and it,
Yeah.
and it's and it, with the celebrity status that he had, you don't necessarily see that
Right.
hardly, if any, at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is, man. Rest in peace to probably one of the better artists and the top two performer in my eyes. Like, he
Yeah.
is
Oh, no
just
question.
so passionate about what he did,
Yes.
that was on display in his music time and time again.
Always, always, always. And, to see him in person,
Hmm.
I mean, it was a true experience. I believe he might have been number 1A or 1B of somebody who left blood, sweat, and tears on the stage every single night. Like, I just remember seeing him and thinking, okay, I thought that he was on 10 in his delivery on his records, but to see it in person, and to hear him go into that prayer that he would go
Yeah,
into at
yeah,
the end of every concert, oh, mind blowing. And it really does speak to, and you and I are believers, we're Christians, and it speaks to, and really any religion, I will say that it speaks to that constant battle between
yeah.
light and darkness that each and every one of us has. Let's just be real about
Indeed,
it,
yo,
right?
no doubt. Yeah,
And the difference
we
is
all have
some of
struggles.
us, yeah, exactly. The
Yeah,
struggle is real. Some of us win the battle of light versus darkness on this side of heaven, and we're able to experience all the fruit of what that light looks like. And some people, they experience it on the other side because, the demons and the darkness are just too much. And
right.
if you've ever watched a documentary like the Rough Riders anthology on BET, was like mind-blowingly good.
Amazing,
And yeah, and
amazing.
some of his other documentaries, and just listening to him speak, that was a lot of darkness for any one human being to be able to successfully come out of. So like I said, flowers to him, on the other side, he gets to finally see the light and he gets to live in it in eternity, and he deserves that. And for me, one of the things that actually made me smile, in addition to looping every single song that I'd ever heard from DMX, all his hooks, everything, his entire weekend, driving to and from Birmingham, crying like a big baby. That's what I did because I love him.
Yeah,
I mean, I absolutely have always loved him. So for me, I smile at the fact that he got some more flowers before he left us because of verses. That to me is such a blessing. Like, even if it was just one more moment in time, at least that for that one night, he got to feel us one more time, and how much love, not just that we have, but for me, Jarvis, just seeing all that love, even Snoop was pouring out for him on that verse, like the respect that was coming through. So that kind of made me smile thinking about that one moment. And I said, I hope that he got to see, even in his transition, I hope he got to peek in a little bit at that light before he made his way on the other side.
Yeah, indeed. And rest in peace to our guy Earl DMX Simmons.
Yes.
He is definitely was a treasure, and his legacy will continue to live on. So we definitely would want to say rest in peace from the Fill in the Blanks family.
Yes.
But before we get out of here, T, really quickly, how about those Atlanta Hawks? They have
them Hawks
like
flying high.
Like they're beating a number 5 seed team with no Trae Young, no John Collins, no DeAndre Hunter, no Danilo Gallinari.
I mean, just go down the roster. Who's playing? Right? Who is in tonight? Like, the injury report should have been those guys who actually might play tonight. No, actually, Trae Young will be back, according to Travis Schlenk, in all likelihood. He said much more of a probability for him. Danilo probably out again. And like you said, you've kind of gone down the list of the ones that we know out. But to think that this team is still in this much of a hunt at this point, hunting, I mean, they had bumped up to third place for a hot second in the East last week. That's just how well they're playing. And when you see,
and they can be touched right now. They're really close.
Yeah, exactly. They're right. They definitely make the case. So loving what we're seeing out of the Hawks. Hopefully this would be cool if they got it tonight, because of course that will be a sweep of the Raptors for the season, something that I don't think they've actually ever done. So that'd be kind of cool to see that. But most importantly, to keep getting those wins against Eastern Conference competitors. So if it comes down to a tie, you can look at head-to-head competition, and that'll bode well for them. And again, going down this stretch, having all of these home games, I'm still loving it. I think when you talk about the bench play, Jarvis, that's when they really shine. They come home and they just they take it to another level.
And speaking of hometown, home team, homeboy, Lemon Pepper Lou been holding down as well. So that trade is looming large right now. Travis Schlenk pulling it off at the last minute before the trade deadline.
Shout out to Trav.
Man, come on, man. Give Travis flowers, man. He's talking about giving out flowers. Give him his flowers right now.
Flowers. That one is a good one. That's a good look, Jarvis. That was a good look.
Speaking of giving out flowers, not necessarily flowers. How about a little trash? How about a little trash on the field for that trash nut call on against the Braves, losing against the Phillies?
Yes.
What was it, 7-6 against the Philadelphia Phillies, and they called the guy safe. He didn't even touch the base. Looking at replay, and we were able to see the replay, but they looked at it for over 5 minutes, and they weren't able to. And they still stayed with the call and saying there wasn't enough evidence to overturn and all this legalese bull crap. And then, okay, you were upset about the call, and then Dansby Swanson. Dansby is talking about how embarrassed he was and all. I mean, and then start going in talking about the umpire's job is difficult, but you get paid handsomely to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not one to never bring the money in. Like, I'm not one to do that. However, I think it's fitting for this particular instance. Like, you get paid to do that. So you are the professional. So whatever mistakes that you made, you normally don't have a chance to fix them. And they had a chance to fix it, and they did not do it. See?
And you didn't. Yeah. That was hurtful. But I expect you, Braves, to shake it off and come back the next game and do better. That's what I expect of you. I expect your bullpen not to blow a magnificent gem of what Oscar Inoa did last night.
Yeah.
We're talking 6 innings, his career high, 10 strikeouts, his career high. Dealing, I mean, his slider was ridiculous, but he was painting all the darn corners. And then you all come, AJ Mentor can't even last a full inning. I mean, he literally walks like 3 straight.
Come on, dude. Come on, man.
That's what is troubling to me, in addition, of course, to the offense just kind of sputtering and being inconsistent. But more importantly, that bullpen just was
a one-man offense, by the way.
Yeah, nephew, I was about to say, just put
Nephew and everybody else. Yeah, that's it.
Just let nephew Ronnie go do his thing. Except, now one of his defensive plays was a little shaky last night. That made me look sideways. But yeah, offensively, no doubt he was a part of each and every one of the scores on Monday night. But yeah, the bullpen crapped that bed.
Yeah, it's
do better.
That's the scary part, right? Like, I can deal with the lineup issues. I mean, because you're talking about 102 games. You're going to struggle at some point. No, like, there's no way, and I hope I'm wrong on this. There's no way nephew Ronnie is going to bat 444 for the season. Like, that's not going to happen. He's going to have his struggles. He's going to have his issues, and he's on a hot streak right now. And this is what you come to expect. And it's kind of just unfortunate that all of the guys are going through it at the same time.
I know.
Batiste and Marcell Ozuna and Freddie Freeman. All of your players are just struggling right now at the plate. So, but when you talk about that bullpen, it's just like we've known AJ Minter to struggle some. You know, there have been some bright spots, but for the most part, he struggled. You know, and then you got this new guy, Nathan Jones, who kind of wiggles the ball and all that stuff. He got he's a guy who off the scrap heap, and he's in there. And then you got Jacob Webb. He's coming in there just like,
don't take me there, Jarvis. Don't take me down the rabbit hole. Don't do it.
I didn't mean to do this, but I'm trying to make a point here, T. Roll with me. But when you have those guys who you're not used to producing on a consistent basis, that's when I get concerned. Especially when you have a guy who was solid for you last year in Shane Green, who's just sitting he's just chilling, from my understanding. He doesn't have a team.
Posted up.
And eventually, the way this season is going, more than likely they're going to be a bidding war if you wait too long to make that phone call. Double-A. Hey man, look, come on now. And
because he's another one who makes some nice moves a lot of the time. So
no doubt,
you're right.
Yeah. So
and he'll come low key with it too.
So Dansby, let us do our thing. Let us be upset. Let us be mad. It's okay.
Feelings. That's my pastor would say.
No doubt. Fans stand. That's short for fanatic. Like, so hey, let us do our thing. Let us be upset. And then this bullpen, something's gonna have to shake with this bullpen. Because like with Chris Martin going down, that was this is all you got with one guy being injured. So that's where my concern level goes up as far as that bullpen goes. But I think that the Braves right now, I'm not necessarily concerned with what they have going on in the lineup. I think the runs are going to eventually come. I'm with Brian Snicker. I'm with Snicker on his real calmness when it comes to that lineup. But I got to be me when it comes to that bullpen. Man,
absolutely.
Fix this junk.
You are not getting us off the schneid with that one.
Yeah, I can't take that when it comes to that bullpen. So, wow, we're at the end, T.
I know.
Fill in the Blanks podcast.
And we were just getting started.
We were just getting warmed up right here. So we want to thank you for checking us out on the Fill in the Blank podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to our YouTube page. Go friend us on Facebook. We're on there too. And then definitely go subscribe to our podcast on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify as well at Fill in the Blanks podcast with Tenitra, Batiste, and Jarvis Davis. T, go ahead and hit him with that benediction, please.
Hey, listen, first of all, I want to say I can't let Webb make me that upset, right? Because when I start thinking of Jakes and Jacobs and Jadens, then I start mixing up Jake Locker with Jaden Graham. You know what I meant, right? It's Jaden Graham. He's the tight end. That's the backup for the Falcons. But I had to say that because that was bothering me because I'm like, that's
throw that in there.
Because that's like when people call me Denise, what? Or Tamika, what? Okay, that's a DMX song that you guys, if you know, you know. But anyway, that's the only name he didn't say. I was like, you called out Tamika on this song, you didn't call me out. But anyway, that and one thing I want to say too, on a serious note, but kind of a smile note as well. Shout out to DMX in what he was able to do to bring to the forefront the importance of men, particularly Black men, taking their guard down and dealing with mental health. Issues are real. The struggle is still real.
Mm-hmm.
People are going through this pandemic. We're not going to go into too much detail because Jarvis and I got to run, and we certainly do not want to start crying or getting in our feelings. But my pastor preached on this Sunday, and he said, quote, "Feel your feelings." That's something that he was told recently, and that's a mantra that he has to step into and own as he's dealing with the loss of a very, very dear friend and leader from our church. The reason I'm saying that is because, listen, when we wake up some mornings, especially we as people of color, and we see another hashtag, that's a lot for us. It's a lot when we see hashtag Dante Wright. It's a lot for us. So take care of your mental, people. Keep taking care of your mental. Take a page from the DMX book and be okay with feeling your feelings and talking about it so that we can work through these things, and so that that doesn't become something that's inside of you and that darkness doesn't take over. Always choose light, my people. Always choose light. Jarvis and I, we love you. We appreciate you for stopping by, especially now. You can stop by on any platform you darn well feel like at this point.
No excuse now.
And hopefully we'll see you back on 92.9 The Game really soon on the show, 6 to 7 p.m. on Saturday nights.
And on Tuesdays at 4:00 on the
some special guests coming up.
Yes. Oh yes. We going heavy NFL draft. You know, that's my wheelhouse, and that's T's wheelhouse as well. So we'll see you next week.
See you guys. Be safe out there and go get that Pfizer or Moderna.
Go check it out.